voted unanimously to approve the future land use map after years of discussion, debate, revisions. We'll talk about that with the distinguished gentleman today, Keith Smith. Good morning.
Good morning. Did you watch it last night?
I did.
Yeah.
I did watch it. What did you think?
Yeah, I was, they indicated, the mayor indicated that vote was going to happen yesterday. I kind of thought maybe that it might have been deferred and might have moved to a different meeting, but, it got approved, which is a good thing. It's a good first step. I think we're going to talk a little bit about today, step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way through the process. But, this is a perfect time to do a little Batman and Robin and see what the feed kicks in and have a lot of fun. I love our Tuesdays when it's just you and I, man.
I think the mayor was eager to get to a vote last night.
I think she was eager. I think
that's her second to last meeting.
Correct. We don't know this for a fact, but just reading body language and so forth and so on, I think she wanted to make this a win before she left.
Definitely.
On that end of it and come off of it. But, on Friday, we're going to have Neil Williamson in here, and I already picked up the bottle of bourbon I owe him.
Oh, you hear that, Neil?
Yeah, I already picked it up.
You got a bottle of bourbon waiting for you on Friday.
I lost that bet. I didn't think it was going to happen this calendar year, but it did. And I think
one of the messages I received this morning was from Sir Neil.
Yeah, and so we're going to probably take a deeper dive into it on Friday. But I think today's let's kind of take a breath and see what's next and see how this actually can work.
It's going to be a good show today. Bill McKenzie, we will get to this topic. Multiple people asking questions already on what happened last night on council. This is the hot topic. It was a topic that finished late for the Tuesday morning edition of the Daily Progress, so it was not in the DP. You can expect that tomorrow in the DP from what I've been told. A lot to cover on the program. Give it a like, give it a share. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready. Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network, and Real Talk is powered and presented by Yes Realty Partners. Yes Realty Partners, find them online. Trusted name in the real estate game. Yes Realty Partners. Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend. ISC, Interstate Service Company, a proud partner of Real Talk as well. ISC for more than 50 years has proudly served the realtor community in Central Virginia and in the Shenandoah Valley. Judah Wickower is our director. If we can, Judah Wickower, go to the studio camera first, and let's welcome the distinguished gentleman to the program. Good Tuesday morning, Keith Smith.
Good morning, sir. I could not think of a better Batman and Robin topic than this, right? And if I'm a little sluggish today, it's because I watched the whole thing, and it's a little bit past my 9 o'clock bedtime.
Okay.
Is when it ended. So I'm on third cup of coffee. It'll kick in and go in there. But look, we've been talking about this for quite some time. It's been approved. This is a huge first step, but we need to really start taking a deep dive into what's happening next. But, we didn't really prepare too much for today, and I know my phone has been blowing up. I know your feed has been blowing up. So we can either just chit-chat a little bit, or if you want to dive into some questions and take it that way, whatever you want to do, Mr. Robin.
Let everybody know what happened.
Yeah, so what happened was, the city of Charlottesville adopted its new comprehensive plan, which had buried into it, what are we calling it? Flam?
The future land use map.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The future land use map. So what that, in high level, what it has done is it said in these particular areas, this is what we would like to see, meaning this city council, as far as land growth or land use. And at a high level, that's in essence what it is. The next step is the hard step. The next step then is to match the zoning ordinances to this vision. So a comprehensive plan is typically a non-obligatory visionary document that we say that Keith and Jerry, this is what we want Real Talk to be, right?
Okay.
This is how we want this to be. And then we go into the devil's into the details, which is getting up a couple hours early on show day and digging into the data and stuff like that, what we're going to talk about today, the next day. That's what's about ready to happen. And what's about ready to happen is the actual revamping the subdivision ordinances. So for instance, they just approved it, and let's say you own a home in Belmont, and it says in this future land use map that you can put 3 units, 4 units, multiple units on there. But you can't do it because the zoning ordinance doesn't say you can do that. And so that zoning ordinance needs to be written. It's a public process. And in that zoning ordinances, they're going to talk about what your building setbacks are, how you're going to make your connections to utilities, parking, which is a huge topic, right? Are we not going to have any parking requirements? Are we going to have parking requirements? That's all going to have to go through and going to have to be vetted through, which is going to take time before the zoning ordinances then matches the comprehensive plan. Did I do a decent job of that?
Yeah, that's fairly decent. Questions coming in. Bill McKenzie, we know you have questions. If you want to relay them on air. Nicholas Erpy, good morning. Daniel Pettit, good morning. Your brother-in-law, good morning.
Oh, there's a genius that knows about this.
Neil Williamson, we're going to pick that brain here in a matter of moments for you. Let's also welcome Catherine Justice. Hello. Marilyn Adams. Hello. So here's what we're going to cover. How soon will we see increased density, Keith Smith? That's one question that's coming in right now.
Yeah, so it's not going to be for a while. So there's a process that has to go through, as I outlined earlier, right? So even though the comprehensive plan says yes, you have to go through this zoning ordinance rewrite. And let me try to back up for 1 second. So we had a conversation yesterday with Maggie Gunnels and Christy Beck, and we were talking about by right and rezoning. So what's going to happen once the zoning matches the comprehensive plan, it's what they call a by right use at this point.
Okay.
So you don't have to go to the city council for approval. You don't have to get what they call a special use permit to do that. What you do is you open up this ordinance, and it gives you the road map to go ahead and do this. So that roadmap needs to be written, and that's going to take some time. And then you're going to have people wanting to do it, wanting to go through the process, and then we've got to see if the math actually works, which I'm not so sure it will, but the math is going to have to work before more units start actually hitting the ground. Short answer, probably 2 years.
So my buddy Tripp, who I play a lot of squash with, watches the program. Entrepreneur, real estate developer, real estate owner, owns a ton of real estate. 5-0, the bill passed yesterday. 5-0, the plan passed yesterday.
Yeah, there was some pushback, though, from 2 city council members on that.
Which
before I got
ones?
there. It was Lloyd Snook, and the other one escapes me at the moment. Was it Heather Hill?
Okay. So 5-0, trepidation of tens of thousands of new people into the area and the impact it's going to have on schools, roads, sewer, and water.
Yeah.
Also concerns of big companies coming into the area and buying up existing housing. Thoughts on those topics?
Well, let's work it backwards, right? So in today's dollars, I ran some numbers this morning. If you were to build, first of all, there has not been a new construction duplex built in the city of Charlottesville
This is a good stat that you're about to hear, Nicholas Erpy, and everybody that's watching.
in over 2 years. You know what the last one that was built?
Let us know.
The Land Trust, the one that we built.
So he was a part of that. The most recent newly constructed duplex
Duplex.
built was the Land Trust.
It was the Land Trust on Nassau Street. We sold them for $215,000.
Okay.
So they were appraised 2 years ago, just so we put some perspective to this. They were appraised at fair market value, roughly, if I remember, about $350,000. So that was a 2 years ago number. So we all know how appreciation has gone over the next 2 years, last 2 years. So that that 350 probably in today's market. Now, I'm not talking about affordable housing. I'm talking about open, regular open market. It's probably got a 4 in front of it.
Sure.
On that end of it. And, the question is how's that going to work? How are you going to get the math to work on that? We just did some back of the napkin envelopes on it. So we did, like, if the market is going to get a 1,500, 1,600, 1,800 square foot duplex, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, on a city lot, right? You have to acquire that lot for somewhere around $90,000 to $100,000.
That does not exist.
That does not exist. So the whole concept of I'm going to buy a house for $400,000 or $350,000 and tear it down and put a duplex on it, in today's numbers, it's probably not going to happen.
What's
from a math perspective.
What's a vacant lot in the city of Charlottesville?
Well, that's a great question. I couldn't find one for sale in the last year, but if you could find one, back of the envelope, you're probably looking to pay $1.25, $1.50, something like that. Now that's probably going to go up a little bit. So if I can find a lot for $150,000 and assume it's the right width, the right length, it's on an alleyway, the topographical layout isn't bad, utilities are close, all this development stuff, you could probably cut that in half, put a duplex on that, and as far as market goes, work. But we were talking about this off air. An affordable housing unit needs to be under $200,000.
Okay.
How are we going to get there, Coach? Right? That's the problem. We're struggling over at Spring Hill to hit 243 and we're trying to hit a 60% area median income, and the price is just too high versus what the folks are making to get into. The delta is so skinny. So those units really need to be at $200,000. And how's that going to happen?
How's that going to happen?
The only way that's really going to happen is subsidies, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Right? The only way that's going to work is somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be some sort of subsidy so that if Jerry and I got in and bought this $300,000 house, cut it in half, right? And we're going to try to build it and sell a unit for $200,000. Somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be grant money somewhere to drive that sale price down, because at the market, it's just not going to get there. Is that making any sense?
That makes perfect sense. I would encourage anyone watching the program to go to the MLS. If you don't have access to the MLS, you can see an essentially abbreviated version through car.com.
Or realtor.com.
Realtor.com.
Another good place to do it.
And I would encourage you guys to search listings and categorize or vet those listings by land for purchase. And then make the area that you're searching for land for purchase City of Charlottesville. And do a little 2 minutes or 3 minutes of diligence. I'm literally doing that as I'm talking.
There's not a lot, right?
With the distinguished gentleman. Finding land at that price point
is non-existent.
It's non-existent.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's why we were having this conversation about, well, do I go onto the market and buy something for $284,000?
Well, you would have to and tear it down.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that if you're buying it at $244, and right, let's just assume that happens, you got to tear it down, which is $50,000. Right, and then and this is why the rest of this conversation is important on the zoning ordinances, because what really has to happen to get this affordable housing number down, there has to be some sort of grant thing. The other thing is, which we've been talking about this forever, is they have to change this red tape to green tape. Right, they have to incentivize from taxes. Portland does this, right? If you do an affordable housing unit out there, you get a certain tax break for an extended period of time. But somehow or another, to use one of your favorite terms, you're going to have to monetize this in some way so that it makes sense. Otherwise, what's going to happen here is what you've been predicting, that maybe the 450 unit or the $500,000 unit duplex or whatever in that. Is that making?
That's making some sense.
Yeah, I mean,
questions coming in, and if you guys have questions, let's relay it on air. Where will the grant money come from, Keith?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. I was hopefully some of it will filter down through the feds, some of it from the states. It's just this is what I do with the Land Trust and the Regional Housing Partnership. We try to get this grant money, and that's the hard thing. And it's just the need is so huge, and the pot, even though it may sound big coming from the federal level, is so small. And as everybody's trying to tap into that, hey, my model is better. I just spent 3 days talking about it at the Virginia Governor's Housing Conference. My model's better than your model. Give me the money. That's kind of how that's going to go.
Jane Lillard says, and this is a good question, the people that can afford to do this, why would they do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would ask that person to take a look at what was actually happened in Portland and Seattle. Folks just decided that they felt this was the right thing to do for their community. They supported this YIMBYism, where if they went ahead and my daughter's a prime example. My daughter and my son-in-law live in Seattle. They're in a single-family detached. He has one apartment up above, one apartment downstairs, and the guy who owns the property lives on an ADU in the back of it. It's also income producing for him.
Yeah, he's making money.
He's making money off of it, but he decided to turn that into 3 units, and he was able to do it.
How many, here's a tough question. How many Section 8 houses, we may not know the answer to this, how many Section 8 houses are in the city of Charlottesville?
Yeah, I wouldn't know the answer to that question.
And how many people are subsidized of those Section 8 houses?
I wouldn't know that question at all. I will tell you, because we're talking about on the rent side of it, it should be really blind. Maybe that's not the right choice of words, but if I'm a landlord, and I have a tenant that is with Section 8, it's just where their money comes from. That's really the only restriction. So in other words, I know that I'm going to be getting my check every month. I think Nikki talked about this and a couple other folks.
Betsy asked this question right here. How does this impact Albemarle County?
That's probably the $64,000 question. It used to be a show. That's the $64,000 question. I think the problem with the city of Charlottesville, and you've articulated this 100 times, 10 square miles, the rubber band doesn't stretch. We are where we are. A lot of it's already developed. We're going to have to get super creative. I think you're going to see Albemarle County start adopt. This is where Albemarle County ultimately is going to go. They have
think so?
I do. I really do. I think Albemarle County, at some version, is going to be working on this missing middle project. You're also probably going to see it spread out throughout the surrounding counties, so that they can increase more density out in our counties. Albemarle County has a little bit more room to work with. Not a lot, but it's got a little bit more room within the growth areas to work with. The city of Charlottesville really doesn't. So now we got to go vertical. Now we have to look at this home that is for $284,000, and now look at it. Okay, can I go up? Can I tear it down, and can I go up with 5 stories? So what is the zoning going to let us do? Is the zoning going to say in that area, on that lot, that we can go up 5 stories? Okay, now I go up 5 stories, I got to elevate the building, I got to sprinkle the building, right? And there's a thing that nobody's talking about here, is what the building codes are going to impact all this, right? So, what is that all going to look like? And then is the money there, is the investment there to generate these units? There's a lot of questions out here that Batman and Robin really are going to try to tackle, but...
So, what county besides Albemarle do you see getting on this quicker than...
No, Albemarle, I think, will be the best. What I was referring to, I think you'll start seeing this growing out through the surrounding counties. I think you'll see Louisa, Fluvanna, Nelson, and Greene trying to adopt some similar concept. A lot of folks don't know this, but Fluvanna County already has an ADU ordinance on the books. You can, in the county of Fluvanna, put an auxiliary dwelling unit on your property.
How's this going to impact HOA neighborhoods in Elmora County?
So, it's a great question. The issue with the HOA is the HOAs are typically more restrictive than the zoning ordinances. So the more restrictive is going to apply. I don't really see how that existing HOAs, right? I don't really see a huge impact. Where the impact's
You're
going.
saying they won't be changed by this?
No, I don't see how. Well, first of all, it won't be because we're only talking the city of Charlottesville, right?
But you're saying Elmora County is going to follow suit?
I think Albemarle County will follow suit. Neil might agree or disagree with me on that, but I think you're going to see that this conversation of missing middle is just, it's not stopping. And what I'm just trying to talk a little bit about today is the comprehensive plan is a great thing, but we now really, this is where the real meat and potato work is going to get started on how you're going to implement that.
So follow-ups on HOA neighborhoods, folks asking these questions. How do you think it's going to impact those neighborhoods? You're seeing no impact. They
Well,
will
if it's an
change because of the covenants and restrictions.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So how's it going to drive, will it drive value there?
It could possibly drive value there. It could drive. I think overall more is going to drive value across the board. So I don't think it's going to hurt. Matter of fact, I'm confident it's not going to hurt. I think where the HOA question comes into play is any new subdivisions. So any new subdivisions that are going through are, let's assume Albemarle County adopts a similar process, right? They go through the comprehensive, which they're starting, they're in the middle of it. So this is in the conversations for Albemarle County, right? And they adopt a similar concept in that, and then start redoing their zoning ordinances, and you and I want to do a development, that's the new rules of the land. If it's existing, it's already existing, right? That, as you said, the covenants and restrictions are already in place.
Jamie Turner watching the program, Orange just amended their ADU requirements last week, I believe.
Yep.
And he shared a link from the Daily Progress. I think, and I've been committed to this statement for a year plus on a microphone, on content that lives in the internet in perpetuity. I think you're going to see the value of homes in existing HOA neighborhoods uptick considerably right now because of this. I think you're going to start seeing individuals, families, couples that want quality of life and are concerned about increased density running to HOA neighborhoods in droves, upticking demand of HOA neighborhoods in Albemarle County. I think this is going to put tailwinds behind those neighborhoods, and you're going to see the values of these neighborhoods go up even more. Prove me wrong on that statement.
Well, I'm not going to prove you wrong because it's already happening. So
I think it's going to amplify it.
Yeah, well, it may amplify it, but there's just not enough. We talked about this yesterday. Lake Monticello, the largest HOA outside of Reston, Virginia, in the state of Virginia, right? There's just no inventory, right? But the supply and demand portion of it is going to raise the price up. I'm not disagreeing with you. This will probably.
You're going to see folks. Erpies agree on this here. You'll see folks that are deep-pocketed, that have tremendous equity in their houses in, say, a Belmont, a North Downtown, a Greenbrier, three wealthy neighborhoods in the city of Charlottesville, who are uncertain about what's going to happen. Sell those houses, take that cash, and then go to neighborhoods that will prevent this zoning evolution from happening due to HOA restrictions and covenants.
So that's why covenants are so important. That's why HOAs are so important. That's why hiring a trusted advisor is so important. That is why the state of Virginia, when you move into an HOA and you put a contract in on a home for an HOA, it's changed. It used to be 3 days. Now it's 7 days that you have to review.
Read the docs.
To read the docs, because under certain circumstances, an HOA actually has more power than a local government.
Many circumstances.
That's exactly right. And most folks do not know that if you don't...
Do you hear what he said, guys? Many circumstances.
If you don't pay your dues and you own a house in cash, their route to foreclosure is faster than the banks.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Most folks do not know that. So you don't want to, that's the reason why you need to read it and understand what you're buying in that all the rules and regulations, it's not all about what the HOA fee is, right? It's about everything else that's in it and what you can do and you can't do it. So this, if this conversation about the comprehensive plan in Charlottesville, right? There's a few HOAs in Charlottesville. I think we listed them out one show.
Huntley, the front part of Willoughby, HOA neighborhoods.
So their coverage,
Huntley and Fry Springs.
so their coverage and restrictions are going to supersede this, right? So if you can't go in there and say, okay, I'm going to do this, and if their coverage and restrictions says that can't happen, then that supersedes this.
Is part of Lockland Hill in the city of Charlottesville?
Yes,
Is that HOA?
that is an HOA.
There's another one.
Yes.
So there's your three off the top of our heads.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the values of HOA neighborhoods in the city of Charlottesville, I just gave you three. The front part of Willoughby, the front part of part of Lockland Hill, and Huntley off of Stribling Avenue. How their values will uptick from this.
And we'll follow them on the Monday market monitors. We'll dig into that as this goes on. But what I wanted to get out to everybody today, that this process just started, right? This took whatever length of time to get to this point, but this is really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. All the real work is already below the surface of the water that yet to be done. And I may be wrong. I don't see tens of thousands of units or thousands and thousands of units being produced in the city of Charlottesville like this. I don't see big numbers like that. There's just no land left to do it. And then the acquisition, because what's going to happen is, what's really going to happen here, these homes that are for sale now in Belmont and all that stuff, what are they going to do, Jerry?
You're going to go up in value.
They're gonna go
because
up.
they have more opportunity to monetize the homes.
They believe they have more value in
I think what you're going to start seeing, and maybe I'm wrong, and Yvonne, it's your daughter.
Yvonne Smith.
You updated your name on Facebook.
Isn't that cool? She's got a passport done, a driver's license.
You updated your name. Initially, it wasn't. I didn't recognize it because of the new name. Congratulations.
Is she going to correct me
on the new name? Well, I mean, she's a strong lady here. I
She
appreciate
is.
when you watch the program.
Yep.
She says, "Hi, a Seattleite here. She's watching in Seattle.
Yeah.
Why are people so nervous about this new zoning? Are they really going to flock out of Charlottesville because of the potential for someone to build an ADU in their yard? I'm joining late and could have missed what this zoning will be changing."
So Yvonne, what yesterday was
That's his beautiful daughter.
What they have done, they approved a comprehensive plan which allows, much similar to Seattle and Portland, and Portland has this horrible acronym, Residential Infill Project, RIP, but what they have allowed now is by comprehensive plan, increased density. What has not been changed yet is the zoning ordinance, and that's the next step, allowing that to happen. So where you and Houston live right now, you could not build currently in Charlottesville. The plan says this is what we want, but you currently couldn't actually do it.
Christopher says, I agree with Jerry. Folks are going to look at neighborhoods in the urban ring in Elmora that are HOA, that are protected from added density, because they want their kids to live in neighborhoods that are safe and not as crowded from a traffic standpoint. The realtor, Dan Pettit, has this comment. There's a lot of comments coming in.
Yeah.
The realtor, Dan Pettit, Jerry, I agree with you. Folks are going to sell their Charlottesville home and move to a home in Elmora County that is close to the city, no more than 5 or 10 miles away from the city of Charlottesville.
And those numbers will just go up in value.
That's what I think this is going to create, and I understand we're in the early stages of this, but people read and they watch shows like this, and and this is perception.
Well, how cool is this, right? This is what I love about what we do. My daughter in Seattle is,
7:46.
7:46 in the morning, is listening to our old man talk. Isn't that cool?
How about this question? How would this is a brand management question, in a brand positioning question. If you're one of the new construction companies, let's just use, you have good relationships with Stanley Martin.
Yeah, sure.
Let's use Dominion Custom Homes and John Kerber, Profit Ridge.
Sure.
How can you utilize this in your advertising campaigns to drive sales of existing land and or new construction that's about to come to market?
And I would, you're a branding and marketing guy. I think
That would be very much in my advertising campaign.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to start seeing newly constructed homes in Breezy Hill, newly constructed homes off of Carroll Creek and Glenmore, newly constructed homes in Prophet Ridge. And the language to market and sell these properties and the land will say this: HOAs prevent increased density in these neighborhoods.
Because it's already zoned and it's done. So you're 100% right.
You guys heard it here first.
You're just restating the obvious, right? That this.
No one stated that yet.
No, I get that. But that's the obvious, right? Once it's developed, once it's done, once the covenants and restrictions are done, that's what it is, right? But let's just talk about that a little bit. It could change, right? So you live in an HOA, I live in an HOA.
Judah, you have an HOA, don't you? Yeah. Judah lives in an HOA, literally in the urban ring. You're in the county, right? Mm-hmm. Like on the line. Yeah. Like it takes 5 minutes to get downtown? Yeah. 5 minutes, and how about crossing county city line? Like 2 minutes. Maybe not even 2 minutes, right?
I don't even know what the line is.
It's really close, but you're definitely county, right?
So how do you change the rules and regulations in your HOA?
Well, you need a considerable percentage of owners in our HOA to band together for something that is important to them, and then you can change the bylaws.
So
like this particular building that we're in, I own a good chunk of the Mackin building.
Mm-hmm.
80% of owners are needed to change bylaw restrictions.
Yeah.
So if one owner owns over 20%
of
the building,
you blocked it.
You control the building.
Sure. So typically, and I've wrote enough of these in my life, typically covenants and restrictions can be changed with 2/3 vote. That's usually required. That's kind of the boilerplate standard.
2/3 is 66.7.
That's exactly right. So that's the reason why these things won't happen. But you could, in your homeowners association or Lake Monticello, where I live, if we wanted to do something like this, we would have to go through the process, and you would have to have a vote, and 2/3 of 4,500 lot owners would have to vote to do that. And look, you can't get 4,500. 2/3 of 4,500
to do anything,
to decide tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
Nevertheless,
Right.
do that. But so I just don't want people to walk away. It is possible. It could happen, but the likelihood of it happening is pretty minimal.
Vanessa Parkhill, hello, welcome to the show. This question from our friend Nicholas Erpy.
Hey, Nick.
A lot of questions coming in here.
Yeah.
We had a client in yesterday who may have to sell and move further away because the price of housing has increased property taxes to the point where it's unaffordable to live in Charlottesville. Nick, this is a good comment. Nick says, 2 thoughts. Let's focus on making businesses more successful so the median income is higher. And 2, why in a modern world are we taxing illiquid assets like properties rather than finding creative government funding solutions? Nicholas Erpy.
Well done,
One
Nick.
of your best ones.
Well done. So that's literally we talked yesterday about the genesis of multi-generational and my mother and father selling their house and moving in. Part of the problem is in Fluvanna County, roughly 97% of the budget, from the local budget side, comes from real estate taxes. It does not come from other businesses. And Neil will
Did you hear what he said right there, guys?
So Neil will probably know this number exactly, but the sweet spot, the balance is you got to have like a 30% tax base from something other than
real estate,
rooftops, real estate.
Because if rooftops get too high, you expedite gentrification.
My parents are a prime example. They're in their 80s, early 80s, I think. I think I might just got myself into a little trouble with my mother.
That's okay.
But
you're a very young 43.
Thank you for lying to me. I appreciate that.
Dave Norris, we'll get to your comment.
I love you. Dave, oh man, I can't wait to hear from him. So the point is part of the conversation is their tax bill is going up because their property value is going up. They're on a fixed income, right? They're retirees. They're on a very modest pension, Social Security, that kind of thing. And so part of the conversation is well, move in with us, right? And then, we can help out with that end of it. But if values we don't increase this commercial component, then costs are just going to go up. The budget's going to go up. That's kind of where I'm at. So what does Dave got to say?
How about the hair? Great hair, Dave Norris.
Thank you.
You got great hair. You want to relay anything about hair?
Dave is insinuating
Jerry.
Dave and I did a presentation down in the Regional Housing Partnership, and we went out for a cocktail, and the wind was blowing my hair, and his hair stuck, and he was giving me a hard time about that.
I brought that up.
Did you?
He didn't bring
Okay.
that up. This is Dave's comment. Dave Norris, we love you here on this program. Bill McChenzie, we'll get to your comments here. There is a lot. We're going to get to as many of these as possible. Dave Norris, former mayor. A lot of people are looking for an urban living experience in a small city like Charlottesville.
Agreed.
We also need more inventory to help contain housing prices.
Agreed.
Constraining supply is only going to make Charlottesville more and more unaffordable.
Agreed.
Creating more opportunities for creative urban infill is going to make Charlottesville more desirable, not less.
Okay, so let's take that last comment. Right, Dave, I love you, brother.
Your daughter's agreeing with Dave on a
Yeah.
different page through a
Yeah.
different comment, and I'll get to your daughter's comment
Yeah.
here from Seattle.
So let's take the last comment, and this was my clumsy way of trying to start this conversation. I was thinking on my 1-hour bike ride today how we were going to talk about this today. The last everything that Dave said is absolutely 110% right. The last item.
This is the comment where some people would disagree. Dave, I think your entire comment, a lot of people are looking for an urban living experience in a small city like Charlottesville.
I would agree with that.
I think people would agree with that. We also need more inventory to help contain housing prices. That's
Yes.
a no-brainer. That's a supply and demand. He's right. Constraining supply is only going to make Charlottesville more and more unaffordable. Absolutely.
Agreed.
That's economics.
Yep.
This is the sentence that I think some people may agree and may disagree that Dave left. Creating more opportunities for creative urban infill is going to make Charlottesville more desirable and not less desirable. Some folks would disagree with that, I think.
So I wanted to jump in on that because the word that I wanted to hang my hat on and what I was trying to get out on my hour bike ride today was that word creative. This is what in my inability to explain this in the beginning of the show, this is what the next step needs to be. How creative that the city council, the city staff, how they're going to go through this process to make it creative to put these units in the city of Charlottesville. That's the key here. We can backhand to that statement. I think some people will think one way or the other. But if the rest of that statement we all agree is right, how do you get there? And how you get there is by the creativity. For instance, don't require parking, right? Parking costs, I know that, but look, here's the thing, right? Do I want to pay?
I don't think a lot of people are going to agree. Go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt you.
I'm just talking economics. Am I paying $20,000 for a spot or 25 or more than that, or am I putting that into the house? Right? That's what happens here. And if you take a look, if they don't change the parking requirements, right? This duplex let's go back for a second. This Nassau Street project, we had to petition the city to drop the parking requirements, I apologize everybody, on that from having 2 cars on the parcel to only 1 car, right? And the reason we were able to get away with that, or reason we were able to convince the city that this was a good idea, it had on-street parking. So they had a requirement, they currently have a requirement, for every residential unit you have to have 2 parking spots. 2 parking spots on a lot. So what is a parking size of it? It's 18 by 25 times 2. How much land does that eat up?
A ton of land.
So what we had to do is we had to fight this. We that fight. That's a wrong story. We persuaded.
You had a politic.
We had the politic. We persuaded the city to say, look, I got a parking spot in the middle, in the front street. Let's call that as number one, and then we'll put one on the property. That meets our criteria. Does that work? Because otherwise, that 215 home would have been 250.
Let's get to your daughter's comment.
Uh-oh.
Bill McKenzie, we'll get to your comment too. Grayson, we will get to your comment. Spencer, we will get to your comment. Twitter, we will get to your comments on Twitter here in a matter of moments. The DMs, I'm going to get to here in a matter of moments as well. This, because I don't want to keep her waiting because I know she has school. She's a kindergarten teacher.
Yep.
We love when you watch from Seattle. Do you know
this is a pride smile, by the way.
your beautiful daughter's full name?
Yvonne? Oh, Victoria. Oh, God, you're going to do this to me. Yvonne, Victoria. There's a third one I'm missing.
Well, I mean, Smith.
Oh, Weidel.
Yeah.
No, but she has two middle names.
Yvonne Victoria Smith Waddle.
There's a story behind Victoria, our oldest daughter.
Well, I hope you know the names that you gave her.
I don't remember the third name.
You remember the
I
third name?
don't really don't.
You remember your daughter's third name?
I don't.
Yes, you do.
I don't. I
Yes,
really
you
don't.
do.
Hello, my name is Keith. What's your name? I used to call her, I'm lousy with names. I was calling her the dog's name.
He remembers your name. It's just for the sake of a talk show that he's joking right now.
Oh, you know, she knows.
Just for the sake of a talk show, he remembers your name. He remembers your name.
She knows I know.
He says this.
Yvonne,
She says this,
Victoria,
excuse me, she.
Victoria.
As a young home buyer, I would seek out a city that allows this type of zoning.
Sure.
An ADU is an extra form of income that would supplement my mortgage payment. I believe this type of zoning allowed for millennials with student loans to afford buying instead of renting. It's a hell of a comment right there. I'm gonna bust out the sound machine.
There you go.
For your daughter.
When we bring on Scott Morris on our next show, the number one impediment to Yvonne buying now is student loans.
Dave Norris. Oh, I love Dave Norris. He says, I absolutely agree with Batman Smith on the importance of creative infill solutions.
Yeah, I got to tell you,
I know you like Dave.
we spent some time together and got to know him, and he's a rock star of an individual.
I'm responding right now. You are good people.
Yeah,
exclamation point.
We looked at each other the night before the thing, and I said, we got this, and we didn't even go through it, and we just winged it. It was not winged. That's a wrong choice of words, but we
shot from the hip.
We shot from the hip. He's a good man. I enjoyed the heck out of spending time with him. To go back to Yvonne, she's spot on. So one of the other things you have to look at all this stuff. Oh, I'm even getting texts in here.
I know, it's dude. We have a ton of comments.
Yeah, and I've got a hard stop at 11:30.
I know, so we got to be efficient here.
I've got to do a regional housing partnership presentation.
What's going on your phone over there?
Shut up! Don't talk so much. It's my daughter going.
No one's saying
No, it's my
that.
daughter giving me a full name.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so
you know your daughter's full name.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, she just texted it to you.
So look, it's funny because you're going to take a deep. It's interesting. And I've been studying this and I've been reading this stuff, and I say this all the time. You know what I love the most about doing this 3 days a week?
What's that?
It makes me better at what I do because it forces me to read. It forces me to learn. It forces me to get better at what I'm doing because I sit here and I have an obligation to the people that are listening and watching to do this stuff and do this. But the data that I've been reading, it's pretty split down demographically, right? The younger folks are really support this, and the people my age, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
On that end of it, we support it because we're 60-year-old millennials. But
and you're also realtors.
Yeah, but I take that hat off. I mean, I really believe what Dave has said, right? And the key here, and Dave put a fine point on it, is the how creative and how you do this from this point forward is gonna matter. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where this is going to either be a huge success or not so much.
All right, let's get to, and guys, give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. We work hard for you guys and put this content out there. All we ask is you hit that like button and share the show or ask a question. This is from Bill McKenzie. Bill McKenzie's opposed to flum.
Yeah, sure.
He's opposed to flum. And you know what? That's what makes the country great.
No, I love it.
That's what makes the country great. He says, again, it's quality of life. increased land values will tax homeowners of all types off their property, and new density will drive others away because
Sure.
it changes the character of the neighborhood. Okay, so I'm going to
So-
stop right there.
so
He's
let me-
basically, go ahead.
Let me jump into that. That's why what Dave said, the details matter, because you don't want to leave others behind, right? So this has to be super thoughtful, how this moves forward, how what Dave Norris has outlined, how is that impacting Bill, right? How is it impacting my mother and father, who if they
Well,
were
that's
living
okay.
in
So we should ask that comment. We should answer this or ask this question. Offering more opportunity for properties, for land, and for existing housing. More opportunities means you can take a piece of land, instead of a single-family detached, you can do a triplex, quadplex, duplex. The additional potential, undoubtedly, we're in agreement here. We are in agreement, makes the land more valuable. Are we in agreement?
Yeah, sure.
It makes it more valuable. So if it makes it more valuable, will that not increase
Property.
taxes
So-
on the land
so-
and potentially gentrify folks on fixed income?
So what the city has to look to other jurisdictions who have done this and how they worked through these issues, right? And that's why I'm saying this is going to take time, right? I suspect what the city's going to do is set up all these working groups, which I hope they do, bring in stakeholders from around the community to start looking at this. But a potential workaround for that is, because what you're saying here is more property goes up, so forth and so on. You know, all of a sudden, the same situation my mother and father
Yes.
have is
A lot of people are in that. I
No-
believe Bill's in that position.
yeah. Well, let me get
Yeah.
out. So what one of the things that the city needs to look at, or Albemarle County, or whatever jurisdiction is going to do that, is to have some sort of tax relief program for somebody like Bill, or for somebody else that wants to stay in their home. They're getting taxed out of it because of the value that increase. Even my watch is.
You're blowing up.
I'm
There's
blowing up.
there's a lot of comments here, and you have a hard stop at 11:30, right?
I got a hard stop, and the reason
Is it a hard stop at 11:30? Is that what it is?
Yeah, my daughter's busting my chops here. Yeah, and
Don't distract them. Don't distract them.
Christine Jacobs and Ian Baxter from the Piedmont, the community, I can get this
There's
out.
too many
The
things going on this man's head
the
right
Regional
now.
Housing Partnership, they're watching it and they go, don't forget, you got to be here at 11:45.
I know. Finish your thought here. Summer
Yeah,
Collins, hello.
so what I'm trying to get at is we need to look at these different jurisdictions around the country, Minneapolis, so forth and so on. They have it up in Arlington, is where they're working on this stuff in the state of Virginia. Norfolk just recently has done it on that end of it, if I'm remembering that correctly. How can we do as Dave Norris outlined and keep Bill in his home if he wishes to stay there? And the only way to do that is to figure out a way, just strictly from the tax perspective, to have some sort of tax incentive, or maybe that's the wrong choice of words, but tax relief for that. There's currently one on the books in the city. Dave probably knows the details. I don't on that end of it, but that's just kind of one thought.
Bill continues, and we're going to get to the comments that are coming in on how this could positively impact PHA. Is it still PHA?
Yes, it's still.
Are you focused here?
I'm not focusing.
Okay.
I'm talking to my daughter.
Is it still PHA?
How cool is this? My daughter is watching down there.
And she's
Piedmont Housing Alliance is still Piedmont Housing Alliance.
Okay. So the questions are coming in. We will get to this one, Grayson, of how this is going to impact Habitat for Humanity and Rosenzweig in Sunshine at PHA.
And then also the Piedmont Piedmont Community Land Trust.
That's coming in. Okay. Before we do, let's finish with Bill's comment.
So I don't think that impacts anybody else other than.
We got to get to Bill's here.
Sorry,
Let me
Bill.
get to
I apologize, Bill.
A couple years ago, Bill says, Bill McKenzie, a couple years ago, they changed the tax districts, which lumped our land in with a more expensive neighborhood and created a higher percentage of tax increases. They live on a fixed budget.
Sure.
He adds, drive the narrow part of Grove Road between Meadowbrook Heights and Yorktown Drive. See what happens when one or two vehicles park along there, planned for medium density. He's saying that area is planned for medium density, and he encourages anyone to drive the narrow part of Grove Road between Meadowbrook Heights and Yorktown Drive. Medium density will have more vehicles parked there.
So Bill is just, in my opinion, thank you, Bill, for doing this, man, is echoing what I was trying to start the show off at, that the real work has to get done. All these considerations have to come together when you're creating this ordinance. And I'm trying to bring in an expert for Friday with Neil Williamson that understands ordinances, that can explain them. But, it's a detailed process. Bill, you're going to have a ton of opportunity to participate in this going forward.
Are you going to be on Today y Mañana this Thursday?
Yep.
If you cannot finish today, you can pick a subject and bring it up on Today y Mañana on
Well,
Thursday.
that's their show.
No, they're saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
They are saying that.
Yeah. Sure.
We're
also going to do this on Friday, so this is the whole week, guys. So we got a couple experts coming in on Friday.
Bill says, Keefe, not so fast. The tax program in the city of Charlottesville leaves out people in my financial situation. It does not apply to me.
So that's where it needs to change. So that's where we need to look at who we're leaving behind and what this impacts and how we can help Bill. I'm sure, what Bill just outlined absolutely is correct, but that's the point I was trying to make, right? You've got to look at this and say, how can we help the most people?
How does this impact Habitat for Humanity, Piedmont Housing Alliance, and the Piedmont Community Land Trust?
Look, at the end of the day, they're developers.
Christine, I'm watching the time.
Yeah.
Christine Jacobs, I'm watching the time.
Yeah. Thank you. So then you just got me off of the squirrel.
How does this
I
impact?
got it.
You know what it is.
Yeah, I got it. So, look, at the end of the day, they're developers and builders, and I can speak for the Piedmont Community Land Trust because I chair it, right? I can't speak for these other organizations. At the end of the day, the developer's no different than Southern Development, no different than any other developer in that. So they would have to apply for the same rules, right? The same rules are applicable to the Piedmont Community Land Trust. The difference is how we do it, how we're structured, right, and what we can bring to the table. So we're one of the ways, and I can't speak for those two other organizations because not here. I won't do that, but I can speak to the Piedmont Community Land Trust. Again, if we're able to raise some money, if we're able to raise some capital, right, and if we can raise some grant money, then what the land trust can come in do, they can come in and buy one of these homes for $300,000, $400,000, and then have zero land value to it. Then we can build this $200,000 duplex. That's literally. Let's talk about this.
Retired economics professor has commented on the show.
I'm in trouble.
Keep
now.
going.
So that's literally what we did at Nassau Street. Literally what we did. We got a $240,000 grant from the city of Charlottesville to acquire and develop these lots, and then we put the houses on it. That's how we had to sell them. We're able to sell them for $215,000. Otherwise, we would have had to add the value of the land and so forth and so into it. So the land trust and some other organizations can help on this if they can get the grant money to do it.
How about this comment here?
I feel like I'm about ready to go to school.
This is from a retired PVCC
Oh, look at that. It's 7:30.
economics professor. Jerry, I've enjoyed the show. Please ask this question without mentioning my name on air. You guys are missing a key factor here. If you make the land more opportunistic, it increases in value and prices people out of the market. This is economics.
Repeat that.
Jerry, you're missing a key factor here. If you make the land more opportunistic, and it increases in value and prices people out of the market.
I think we've been saying that. I think that's what Bill is saying, right? Maybe Bill might have been talking a little bit more from the tax side of it, driving him out of the market because he can't. His taxes are going.
The economics professor, the retired professor, is talking about it from people going after to purchase said land.
Yeah.
Is going to increase because of the opportunity there. So if you have more potential buyers, then the price is going to go up.
So we want to archive that question. I I was able to convince the good Dr. Lisa Sturtevant when I was down in Norfolk to join us on December 3rd.
Tell them who the good doctor is.
Dr. Lisa Sturtevant is the chief economist for Virginia Realtors. She's going to come in on December 3rd, and actually I've got one of the, forgot the gentleman's name, but one of the executives from the Virginia Housing Association to join us on December 3rd. And not necessarily this topic, but we were going to talk about topics similar to that.
We should get Robert Liberty on the show.
Yes, we're going to have to do that remotely because he's out in Portland.
Right, but we can Skype him.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah. And my brain was turning. So all this is happening fast, guys. This all just happened last night, and we're trying to build a couple of shows going forward on it. But I'll reach out to Rob at Liberty. He can bring a plethora. How'd you like that, huh? Of information.
Good job.
Of information on how Portland and Seattle work through some of these very issues on that we're talking about.
This is an interesting question here. Does this drive value for Waynesboro or Stanton in any way?
Yeah, look, the realist, we had
Steve Robinson on Twitter.
We had a conversation yesterday. At some level, I feel like we're talking about the same thing over and over and over again, and we're trying to come up with different conversations. But, it's kind of like, are you a Godfather?
Yeah, I love Godfather.
The worst one ever made was the number 3, right? And that there's a scene in it when he says, when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yeah.
But the viewers want to talk about this, and I've been trying to talk about something else.
The viewers want to talk about this,
I get
so you
this.
have to talk about
I
it.
got to talk about it. So, look, here's the reality of it. The reality of it is the market's going there anyway. The market is so razor thin.
And why the reason the viewers and listeners want to talk about this is because it tangibly impacts them.
Housing impacts everybody.
It impacts
and
them.
impacts everybody.
Yeah.
We've been talking,
which I understand.
When COVID hit, we talked about this. What's the 3 things, right? Housing, shelter, and food, right? So hold it. Shelter, food. I lost the third one. I was close. I was close. 2 out of 3. I can't even. That's the same thing with my daughter's name. I got 2 out of 3. I can't get the third one done. But the point is that's why
we shouldn't go back to that anymore.
Yeah, I got it. She's busting my chops. So look, the reality of it is, that's why what we do here 3 times a week
matters. Yeah.
That's the reason why we call it Real Talk, because this is not about real estate. This is real. This really impacts people's lives.
Like big time.
Absolutely. But the inventory need is so great. It's just this is going to be a help, but this is maybe, to quote Mr. Robert Liberty, this is not the silver bullet. This is maybe a couple pellets in the silver buckshot, right? It's going to move the needle in some direction. I want to keep on going back to Dave's comment. This is what I was trying to say. It is how we set this up going next is really going to matter. It's really going to matter on how this is going to get done and how successful this is going to be or not. Going forward.
More comments. BM, we're going to get to this one right here. My young neighbors with a toddler will move if the character of the neighborhood changes because of denser homes. This is not what they bought into either.
Sure.
I'm going to say it again.
You're going to move out to Lake Monticello, out to
the HOA neighborhoods close to the city of Charlottesville, in the city of Charlottesville, in Albemarle County, in the urban ring. HOA neighborhoods are going to boom in value.
What did we talk about?
On record, I've been saying that for a year.
Got it. What have we been talking about the depth of the buyer pool right now?
The buyer pool depth is that of an Olympic pool, and the seller pool depth is that of a kiddie pool.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
a ton of buyers, not much sellers.
The Olympic size pool on a 3 meter.
Your daughter would know.
Excuse me?
Your daughter would know.
Yeah, my daughter would know.
Collegiate swimmer.
Correct, but she wasn't a diver. She was a sprinter.
A sprinter.
But the dive, when you have Olympic dives with that platform diving, that pool is like freaking 15, 20 feet deep.
Or you would crush your skull into the bottom of the pool.
That's right.
You taught me that.
So I wish I didn't have to leave at 11:30.
I know, because we're not going to get to this.
I know that, but I made a commitment.
Christine, can we be late?
No, I cannot be late.
She's watching.
There's 100 people that are
All right.
waiting for me to.
It's 11:17.
Yeah, I know that.
Do you have to leave the door at 11:30?
I got to be at the Planning District Commission at 11:45.
Okay.
We got a little bit of room.
Yeah.
But technically, I'm supposed to be there at 11:45.
If you to know Keith is to love him, and to know Keith is to know that he's fashionably late to everything he ever goes to.
I don't know when the hell that happened. When I was in the Corps, I was always 15 minutes early. Now, maybe I'm doing too much.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. Listen to your beautiful wife.
So,
Was that statement fair? Fashionably late everywhere you go? Yes, dear.
how about those Mets? But look, it's an and I don't want to marginalize or trivialize. I don't know if I can get that word.
Marginalize.
What's the other word?
Trivialize.
Trivialize.
Yeah.
Any comments? I really don't. Every comment that somebody's making is important to them, right? And I want to respect that. But I'm just looking at the reality on the ground, right? And the reality of where the market is today. That may all change 12, 24 months, 36 months from now. The good doctor is probably going to tell us this depth of 15-foot pool versus kiddie pool in product that's available is probably not going to change for the foreseeable future. My suspicion is that's what she's going to say, because I had a conversation with her about this already. But, and so that 15-foot pool might go to 10-foot, or might go to 12-foot, or might go to 8-foot, right? And the kiddie pool might go to, we might go to a 2-foot pool or a 3-foot pool. So that balance is kind of going to start.
It's not going to be really balanced.
It'll
change.
The balance is going to change a little bit. This imbalance. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Is going to change a little bit. Squirrel. It's going to change a little bit. But the reality of it is, it's going to be a lot. It's going to take a lot to get there. And I just don't. And I'm sure somebody's going to prove me wrong on this, because I'm generally more wrong than I right.
That's not true.
On these
That's
kind
not
of,
true.
On these kind of bets, when I bet, that's how.
Well, the prop bets maybe.
Yeah, I tend to give away more bourbon than I receive.
Yeah, the prop
that
bets.
I receive.
I would say that.
But I would say, because unless you kick me out of this chair, I intend to be talking to you like this for several years to come.
I won't kick you out of the chair.
I would love to see, say, 3 to 5 years from now, obviously, what actually happened. And I would suspect in the city of Charlottesville, if folks think there's going to be multiple thousands of new units built.
Many folks think that. Many folks think we're going to see a flood of tens and tens of thousands of people to Charlottesville.
I will bet that that won't happen. I really won't. Now,
if you think that's going to happen, let us know why in the feed.
Well, only one bottle.
Somewhere Yoda's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why she only gives me a limited amount on my debit card. But the reality of it is, I just don't see, looking at the map, looking at how this can work, looking at what the cost of property is going to be to acquire. I'm just brushing off my developer hat here. I just don't see, there's tens of thousands, maybe thousands, maybe that is a possibility, but not tens of thousands. We got 50,000 people now in the city of Charlottesville.
Yeah, roughly 50,000.
So if you're saying I'm not too sharp in math, but if we're doing 50,000 and you're saying 10,000, that's a 1/5 increase.
That's substantial.
Yeah, I just don't.
Talking 20%.
If you're talking tens of thousands.
2019, there was a population, city of Charlottesville, 47,096 people. I just looked it up online.
Yeah. So I can see like a 1 to 5% increase. That to me makes sense. But I just don't see tens of thousands. I just don't. It's physically not possible.
How is this going to impact? Here's a question that I have for you. How is the
I hope Dave's still my friend and Bill's still my friend.
How is the flum going to impact remodeling companies that can take existing homes and convert them into granny apartments, basement apartments?
That is.
Or chop it up into, because you could, help me understand this. You have a Class A contractor's license, right? You do. This guy's very renaissance here.
Since 1987.
Okay, it's a Class A contractor's license, and he's been in the real estate game for 30 plus years,
Since 1987.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy this is why Keith and Yona are fantastic partners for helping you buy or sell your home. You get a Class A contractor that's working with you here. So as a Class A contractor, can you take an existing home in Belmont? Take one of the listings you showed me. Let's go over one of the ones you showed me. Which is the one, or I got the papers in front of me. You have it too? Can we talk about,
I'm yours. Apparently, you're kicking me out at 11.
I don't want to kick you out. I think the show's on fire right
Yeah.
now.
So.
Okay, can I take, which one do you want to go over?
How
How about this Belmont one that's on 800 Montrose Avenue with a list price of $399K?
Chemistry is working. It's not a list price. It's sold. That's the reason.
Okay, so it's sold. So that's why we can talk about it.
That's the reason we can talk about
Okay.
it. That's the reason.
So you're not going into car jail.
I'm not
'cause it's
going.
sold.
I'm not. Neil's not going to send me to Quentin Beckham, who will send me to car jail.
Okay,
I'm
so
good.
this house is sold, so we can talk about it.
It is sold. It is in the public record.
And it's $399 sales price?
That is 390. Hold on a second here. Actually sold for 398,500. Yeah, this is called 399. Close enough.
So we'll
So-
call it, for the sake of conversation, 400,000.
Let's call it 400,000.
Okay, so we're looking at a home that just sold on Montrose Avenue, 800 Montrose Avenue in Belmont, just sold for 400,000. I'll give the specs. 1,373 square feet, not a big home. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, Smith. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Built in 1925.
I know, sir. I pulled it.
Yeah, I know you did. Land 0.14. 0.14. Can a remodeling company go in and not tear this down and remodel this into a duplex easily? And what kind of zoning changes or approval do you need from City Hall to do that?
Okay. So let's work it backwards.
Okay.
So Flam, or whatever the heck it is, Flim Flam, whatever it is, got approved. Let's assume.
Thirsty Neil will not send the distinguished gentleman to car jail.
Thank
That's
you.
Neil Williams. You know that was funny.
I know, that was fine.
He's laughing.
I probably have to buy 2 now.
Keith lost a bet to Neil.
I did. Last night I lost a bet,
I know.
big time.
Well,
And-
you almost won the bet.
No.
If it had gotten pushed back 2 more meetings, you would have won it.
I was getting excited there, but look, I truly believe more is better. So I'm gladly losing this bet and gladly handing a bottle of. But let's get into this, because we're gonna run out of time.
I
here.
know. Please, let's answer this question.
And this is
It's a good topic.
yeah. So let's assume zoning has been adopted, right? Let's assume zoning is adopted. This is in Belmont, this is on Montrose, and let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, what we're about ready to talk about is allowed.
Yeah.
Zoning allows it to happen.
So a remodeling company is picked.
Got it. So this is what I was trying to allude to earlier. Now, you have to cross-reference all of this with the state building code.
Okay.
So this is what I was trying to tell you prior to the show. So if you're going to take this 1,200 square feet and you're going to cut it in half, I'm going to do a 600 square foot apartment below, a 600 square foot apartment above. What do I need to do between the 2 floors? I need a 2-hour fire rating. I have to separate these 2 units with a 2-hour firing. And how the hell are you going to do that, Coach? In a home that's
I'm
built.
just a guy with a microphone. You're the Class A contractor. I don't know the answers. to
In a
this.
home that was built in 1925. Oh, by the way, not only that, you're going to have to comply with ADA rules, which a house built in 1925
Okay.
does not have
So
that.
we could say this, that the remodeling company is not going to take this 800 Montrose Avenue and convert it into a duplex.
That's not what I said. What I was going to
Would
say.
you have to tear it down?
No, you can do it, but the costs are going to be off the charts.
Like ballpark, back of the napkin.
No, I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's.
Hundreds of thousands?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You're going to have to put 2 kitchens in there. You're going to have to redo the structure. You're going to have to figure out a way to separate the fire between.
So it would be
the-
cheaper or more affordable to do the cottage in the backyard, the ADU?
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
That's like $110, $125, right? Well,
$1.50, something
Okay.
like that. $150,000 for those, not $1.50.
Right.
It's $150,000. And the reason I picked this, it has an alleyway in the back, right? It's easy accessible. You can kind of build an ADU in the back of it of 800 square feet, something like this, and then, you can rent it out, or you can do whatever, or the land.
So how is this going to impact the remodeling companies?
So I think, I just don't think the numbers are there. I don't, if somebody wants to spend a ton of money to do this, I just don't think the ROI is there. So therefore, I'm not so sure it's going to have a huge impact on the remodeling. Now, if you could buy that for $100,000,
Yeah, but
that's just not going to happen.
That's not realistic.
That's not realistic. Yeah. So more than likely, what would happen? So let's talk about this house. Let's talk about how Bill's comments about the tax and how Keith and Yona, or Mr. and Mrs. Smith, own this home, and they've owned this home for 30, 40, 50, for multiple generations. They don't want to move out of it, but taxes are driving them out. A way to get around that, or a way to help on that, is to put an ADU in the back to offset your income, right? So you can stay there on top of some sort of tax incentive or a tax abatement or tax program from the city to encourage folks to stay there. If you're going to stay there and you're going to build an ADU in the back for affordable housing, this is what they're doing in Seattle and Portland, and I know that because I'm consulting for them out there, then it has a meaningful impact on the affordable housing. There's another thing that's going out there that rolls in the land trust, which we're working on in the city of Portland, that I am working on, is what's happening is the land trusts out there are actually leasing the land underneath the ADU and is actually paying the property owner a fee per month so they can stay in their home, and then they're going ahead and renting out the ADU to people making 30, 40, 50% area medium income. That's a way to help that do it, and it's actually working out there pretty successfully.
A couple people are asking, what kind of bottle of bourbon are you getting, Neil? And it's not Neil who's asking.
Yeah, I know. It's not Wild Turkey. Let's put it that
It's
way.
not what? So you're saying it's a good bottle?
It's a good bottle of wine. Yeah, I would not. I would.
Thirsty Neil, you're getting a good bottle of brown
Yeah,
juice on Friday.
I have too much respect for Neil not to get him something worthwhile. Again, I have champagne taste.
You do have champagne taste. Sandra Collins is loving the program right here. My friend, I don't want you to get you in
No,
trouble.
I'm good. I got
It's 11:30.
I got 10 minutes.
Christine,
No. I got to walk from here. As long as I'm there by 11:40.
I just want this to be heard, Christine Jacobs. Keith, you should leave now. It's 11:30.
When was the last time I actually?
Keith, you should leave now.
So let's just.
You heard that, Christine.
Let's get this out and let's air our family differences, you and I, right?
Okay.
When was the last time I actually listened to you right away?
Well.
When was the last time I actually listened to you? There you go.
I think it takes the distinguished gentleman it takes a little bit of prodding and encouragement over some time to get him to see the light.
That's a lot.
Is that fair?
Sometimes that has something to do with being almost 60. You kind of slow down a little bit. I remember when I was almost 40.
When's the last time Pop Smith has listened to you right away? That's his dad.
Yeah, well, probably not, since I tried to talk him into moving in with us. And
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
It does not fall far from the tree, and I will be honest with you.
Have I ever led you wrong?
No, and that I get it, but I remember when I was almost 40. I'll talk about my truck that I owned since I bought in 2017. It took me 3 years to decide what exact truck I done. And when I bought it, I thought to myself, holy schmoly, when I was 30-something, I would have bought it like in 13 seconds and never thought about it and moved on.
So which is better?
I'll tell you when I'm 80.
I think we call that the opportunity cost of time.
I got it, yeah, but it's a funny thing when you get to
I bought that Explorer second test drive. One day.
I found the older I get, the slower it is for me to make a decision. And maybe that's normal.
I think you just want to make the right decision. You do your due diligence. Now, there's due diligence and paralysis of analysis, but...
Yes, Mr. Miller. Look, here's the deal.
This is an incredible show today.
Ultimately, you're right, and I'm going to get there. It just takes a little while to get there. Any other? We got 10 minutes. Any other questions?
I think we should do this. Like any topic, especially in a time of social media. You got this proverbial line down the sand, and you got a huge percentage. I wouldn't characterize it by a number, but a huge percentage on one side and a huge percentage on the other side. And because of this thing we call change, people are nervous, apprehensive.
Absolutely.
And change and being apprehensive with change is human nature. So why don't you give, people count on you. I count on you. I value your opinion. I really do. A lot of times my wife will listen to the show and over dinner she'll be like, you know, Keith said this, and that's the topic of what dinner's about. That's no BS. That literally is.
That's because she's a genius. No, look,
you should create a little sense of calm.
Look,
apprehensive waters, tumultuous waters right now.
Yeah, and this is why I love. I had I'll leave names out of it. I had a bunch of folks ask me when we were down in Richmond. They were in my business, and it was, well, you do this thing 3 times a week, and maybe you're going to do it more, and da 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 da. How much money is it making you? And I was like, man, then you kind of missed the whole point, right? This is not why I sit here for 3 times or more a week and prep and all this stuff. I said earlier, I do it because it makes me better at my job, right?
Oh, if you pick up a listing or two.
Yeah, but that's also the benefit of age, right? And I'm at a point in my life.
Yeah, you're empty nester.
I'm at a point in my life. I'm looking at the back end instead of the front end of it, and what where I'm going to go, right? Where my wife and I are going to go, and where my daughter is ultimately going to land. Second daughter is ultimately going to land, and grandchildren. It becomes this whole different thing, so the jeez. I just had a Charlie horse in my head.
What was that over there?
No,
What is going on with you right now?
In my hammies, I'm having a Charlie horse in my hammy.
He's cramping up on air right now. Look at the screen. He's cramping. I heard something kick under the table.
That was
Is that your leg? I'm dying over here.
I rode a bike for an hour through Vienna, Austria this morning. No, I'm not. But
Are you okay?
We have to talk a little longer because I can't get up.
Your daughter in Seattle. Now it all makes sense right now. Why Dad was always late to pick up. Cue the daughter guilt.
It works. This poor lady. Oh, yeah. Which daughter is that? Is that my oldest or youngest still? Is Yvonne?
It's your Seattle daughter. I'm dying over here. He said Charlie horse on air. His youngest daughter is heckling him.
And you're laughing at me. And I'm trying to be serious. I was trying to
great content. Yeah. And Yona just chimed in. And Yona, I love you, Yona. You did a hell of a job on Friday, Yona. I watched the show. You were amazing, Yona. It was your best one yet. Yeah. She says, "Oh boy, I had nothing to do with this."
Who, Yvonne? Sure, she did. Look. We're gonna continue the conversation over the rest of the week, right? It sounds like we might pick this up during the Erpies. Yeah. Because they were kind enough to invite me to come in and.
So the offer is yours there if you want to bring it up.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Erpies are going to have some comments. They're smart men.
Sure, without a doubt. And then we're going to definitely tear into it on Friday with Neil, and hopefully we can find a 4th seat, somebody that's an expert in what we're talking about, creating this next step that has to go in it. I know enough about it, but I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination.
He's Keith Smith. He's the distinguished gentleman, one of the principals of Yes Realty Partners. Find them online, yesrealtypartners.com. Interstate Service Company, ISC, a home's best friend. Thank you for being a part of the show. And Segura Solar, the power behind Real Talk, Segura Solar. You're going to see the distinguished gentleman sprinting across the downtown mall. Maybe not with this Charlie horse here. You got to be there by 11:45, and by my count, it's a 6-7 minute walk from here.
I could be late.
How could you?
I just got to show up at 12 o'clock and stick a microphone and a camera in front of my face and do.
You're good at that.
And do what we're doing right now. And I'm modern.
Did you have as much fun?
Oh no. We're talking about rural.
Choose your words carefully.
Yeah.
Hell of a show today, dude.
Yeah, you know,
It's fun.
I love these shows where we got a couple of notes and my people chime in from all over the country, right?
What number show is this for you?
Oh, I forgot to look it
It's
up.
like 220 something?
Oh no, it's over that. It's over 230.
230 something of
I think-
Real Talks. This is the first time in Real Talk history one of the co-hosts got a cramp on air. He kicked the table. Is that what you did?
Have you ever got it?
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
I've never had it on air. Knock on wood. They're extremely painful.
Yeah, well,
It's to dehydration.
well.
Are you eating bananas and drinking water?
Yes, dear. No, actually, yes, I am. Mrs. Smith makes me
A smoothie.
a shake, a protein shake with banana and blueberries, and I ate it. I will tell you, I didn't hydrate after I got off the bike today because I was running late. Go figure.
Go get it. We have a water in the fridge. You got to go. Keith, Judah, Jerry, Real Talk here on the I Love Seagull Network. We're back on Friday at 10:15 a.m. with Sir Neil Williamson, who's going to be a proud owner of a new bourbon bottle. I have a feeling he's going to be rubbing this into the distinguished gentleman on Friday on set. And we hope, along with Neil Williamson, we're going to have an expert on zoning.
Well, I'm trying to get somebody in, you know, that person's trying to rework their schedules. I don't want to overcommit at this particular point in time. But is Yvonne still watching?
She is.
Can I take a minute?
Sure.
Yvonne, I love you. Thank you for making me better at doing this every day. Thank you very much. Love you, baby.
She was great. You did a good job today, Mom.
She makes me better. She really does.
I love it.
She makes me better.
I love it. Good show. Good show. Guys,
I'm tearing up, not because of my Charlie horse.
we hope you enjoyed the program today. We certainly did. Judah, thank you for keeping us on track. That's Real Talk. That's all she wrote. Keep sprinting right now to his meeting.
No, I'm trying to stand up. Is what I'm
No, go to studio camera. Why don't you stand
Oh, no,
up?
no.
Go to studio camera. Come on. Let's see if you can stand up. All right, get Keith on camera right now. You may, yeah. Look at the screen, guys. Look at the screen. Go. Stand up. Is there?
We're good.
You did it. You did it. You have a good one, guys. Take care.